and welcome to the promo for Always Digging. My name is Jeff Skull, aka DJ Scully Funk. Every Sunday afternoon, my partner Gary, aka DJ Gaza Taylor, and I choose a theme and play our favorite songs that fit that theme. Tune in right here every Sunday from noon to 2 on iLive Radio.
Every Friday, take a trip around the world with music from around the globe. Colors of Rhythm with your host DJ Ron John. Fridays, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on iLive Radio, iliveradio.com.
Hey, what's going on, everybody in cyberspace? This is The Groove Show with your boy, the crowd pleaser, DJ Mark Anthony. Don't forget, each and every Saturday afternoon from 4 to 6 p.m., we want to put you in the mood for whatever the night has in store. I'm playing only the best feel-good, party rocking, body-shaking music from funk to soul to reggae to R&B, house to salsa, and much, much more. We call it The Groove each and every Saturday from 4 to 6 p.m. Keep it locked. It's the crowd pleaser, baby. You know how we do. We'll see you on the air. Peace, peace, peace.
Attention all musicians, bands, associations, clubs, and organizations that represent collective styles of music across Canada. Now is the time to rebuild our collective music nation genres like hip-hop, R&B, jazz, soul, reggae, gospel, and more united. The Collective Music Nation is a non-profit organization committed to the development of collective music. Free memberships are available now. The Collective Music Nation. One voice, strength in unity.
Nothing makes you look, feel, and perform better than a tailor-made suit. Just like a tailor-made suit, a mortgage is not a one-size-fits-all solution. Canadian Tailored Mortgage Solutions will customize a mortgage to perfectly suit your needs. Come and get fitted for your mortgage today at 1-877-834-9346 or reach us on the web at ctmortgagesolutions.com. COVID safety protocols are in place. Brokerage license number 13228.
The number one hit music station.
You're listening to iLive Radio, changing the way you listen to radio. iLive Radio.
Good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world, or good morning even. Wherever you are in the world, welcome to the Sound Table. Your host, DJ Sessions, sitting in the hot seat. So today, we've got a very special guest. We have Mr. Beatchild, who's on the line. We're going to get into conversation with him over the next hour. So this is the third edition of the Sound Table. This is sponsored by French Penny. Check them out on the Instagram. Shouts out to the French Penny team. Not wearing the French Penny shirt. It's in the wash. I've got to shrink it a little bit because, I've lost a little bit of weight now because I'm on this health cleansing and, So just to give you a bit of personal information, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes a few weeks ago, actually. And I've had to make a number of lifestyle changes, which I'm not very happy about at the moment. But one of those is obviously weight loss. So, it's a journey, as always. And my friends have been very supportive, as always. In other words, they're just nagging me about this stuff, but it's what it is. And some habits are hard to break. So, I'm getting there. It's all the testing and poking and prodding and making sure I'm good that I'm just not on at the moment, but it's what it is. Anyway. So welcome to the Sound Table. The Sound Table is a interactive discussion. We have guests on when we can get guests, and we're very, very honored to have the Beatchild on the line over here. Let's see. Right to admit him. Let's bring him back in. There we go. There we go. So hold on, let me just. Perfect.
Hey.
Hey, man. What's going on? Oh.
Yeah, I had some connection issues there.
Yeah.
But I'm good. How are you, man?
I'm very, very well, sir. Very, very well indeed.
Good.
So what's going on, B? It's been a minute, right? We've talked to each other since before Christmas. Or should I say,
Yeah.
Saturnalia. Let's get it right.
Yeah, no, like everyone else, just trying to endure through this COVID nonsense.
Yeah, I know.
But I mean, at the same time, it's given me the opportunity to a lot more time to make music. So along with the negatives, there's actually some positives.
Yeah, I know. It's a really, really interesting, really, really interesting time, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's a task. It's a real drain on you, and you don't realize how much of a drain on you till you kind of sit back and realize that you haven't gone anywhere for the last year. You haven't done anything much. You're restricting more and more to your place of residence. There's this intrinsic fear that's around everything, and all this hyperbole in the media, right? Which is that you don't know what's up or down, left or right, and yeah, it's a challenge. Most definitely it's a challenge. Definitely a challenge.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a period of time where we look back, and it'll be interesting to look back because I think the art that's going to come from this era and the things we're going to learn too, like social and psychological impacts of it all, I think we're going to learn a lot. And yeah, it'll be interesting to look back. Always looking forward to.
Yeah, I know. It's like I said, it's definitely something where, yeah, like you said, you're gonna look back at this period and go, we survived the Corona era. Because
Exactly.
we're having people turn around and say, I survived 2020. Like it's an achievement.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
Like you dodged a
Yeah, we
bullet.
went from having like New Year's resolutions to like being grateful we made it through the year.
Yeah. Like whoever would have thought we'll be in this position right now? Like seriously, it's like I said, it's a real it's a real challenge. I think for myself, and mental health is a big thing as well, right? It's like mental health is a major issue.
What's interesting is, you think that you're the only one going through it, and then when you reach out to people who you're like, well, they should be fine, and you reach out to them, and you realize that when you speak to them, they're going through it too. It is affecting everyone. There is no one that it's not affecting. It doesn't matter how much money you have, how famous you are, how healthy you are. That's what makes this thing so interesting is that everyone is experiencing the same, or at least similar psychological effects of the pandemic.
Indeed. All right, so let's get down to some conversation. That's what I've got on here for, mate. All right, so we're not going to go over your history. I mean, I've interviewed you twice on iLive. I think I've interviewed you already. So we've done the whole history of the Beatchild and everything that you've done. So let's kind of take it from a different angle in this particular interaction with us, and let's talk about the last year for yourself. I mean, you're not a prolific artist when it goes in terms of doing live shows. How has it been for you as a artist producer since the time this thing the outbreak of this whole Corona thing? How's life changed for you in terms of your music and what you're doing and how busy you are or not busy?
Well, you're right when you say that when it comes to the live performances, I'm not prolific. I'm really an introvert. I love being alone and I love my privacy. But the element of collaboration when it comes to writing and producing, that's been almost non-existent for the past year. So that's been really tough. I've done sessions over Zoom. It's just not a thing.
Right.
So that's been difficult. But like I said earlier, it's given me the opportunity to really do a lot more of my solo stuff, which I've actually wanted to do for a long time. And got a new place and built a new studio at home just in the nick of time because like when the studio was done a month later, or even a few weeks later, even I think it was, Corona hit North America. So I was like, okay, at least I can wake up in the morning or in the middle of the night for that matter and go to the studio and develop ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Because having a level of creative freedom really contributes to creativity itself. It has its challenges. I'm at home, so I have two kids, and the interruptions or the responsibility to take care of them might get in the way sometimes. But with lockdowns and being forced to stay home, it's giving me no other option but to get creative.
Yeah, and it's a common story, right? Well, maybe not so common. It's been interesting to see the differences in how people are approaching this. Like your cottage industry unto yourself. I mean, you've got everything you need at your fingertips, other than time because you have the family. There's that level of responsibility that you have to obviously build around and build your time around your young family. But you have everything there. You can go downstairs. You have an idea. You've got a full studio in front of you, and it's interesting because talking to other artists who don't have that facility to be able to do that, they're used to going to someone's studio and someone doing stuff for them, and they haven't really learned the technology. They're really, really struggling at the moment.
I can imagine.
Yeah, so it's a dichotomy, right? It's that
Yes.
one thing I've said to artists, over the last few months, over the last year, really since this thing has really broken out, was really around ensuring that you skill yourself up. Take the opportunity during this down period to learn some stuff, download some software, order some stuff on Amazon, set yourself a little recording suite or pre-production suite so you can start getting your skills up and see if you can start making some music that you can prepare for later on, or maybe even put some stuff out. Would you say that's sound advice coming from a non-musician like myself?
Yeah, absolutely. And I wouldn't limit it to music. Like I think it's a great time to focus on ourselves as human beings, individuals, because we have more time to be, reflect on who we are and what really matters. And I think when you can do that and make progress with that, then anything you do is going to be better, whether it's your music, your business, your relationships. And as an artist, the older I get, the more I realize that those things and how healthy those other things are really affect your art.
Mm. Yeah, and let me kind of take that, because I mean, we've had some dealings directly, and I've closely followed your career since I've been here. I've been a super fan forever, but and being part of observing your process also, I know you take a lot, you put a lot behind the whole songwriting piece, and writing good lyrics, right? Which is something that I think some songwriters or some artists avoid really kind of digging into that side. I mean, how important is it for you in this period of downtime to encourage artists to develop that aspect of themselves?
Oh, I think it's so important, to always strive to be better, in the sense that I love beats. That's why I put out this latest album, Nostalgic Beats. I've been making beats for like 20 years, but it's easy for me. I can look at the quote unquote top guys doing that, and it's easy to me. But then I look at other elements of music, and I kind of like put myself beside some of the say songwriters who I really admire, and then I have to be like, I can grow in that area, or it might be in the mixing. I think my mixes could be better, or my digital marketing, whatever it may be. I'm always analyzing myself and seeing where I can improve. And there's always somewhere to improve. And I spent the past, I think, maybe 6, 7 years focusing on songwriting. And I still feel like I'm like, I don't know where to go. But it's something that I make a conscious effort to really improve because I found that songwriting plays such an important role in everything when it comes to the music industry. Like, in my opinion, the entire music industry rests on the shoulders of songwriting,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
If you don't have a song, then you don't have a recording. If you don't have a recording, then you don't have a product. You have nothing to perform. You know what I mean? So, like, if that is the core, the foundation, that then you need to make sure that that foundation is strong and can support all the things that relate to it. I don't know if that sounds.
No, I mean it sounds correct from my perspective. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a layman at this, right? My knowledge is external to the actual process, but just outside from an observational perspective, you know, a lot of people I've come across in the music industry, a number of them will focus on like the music piece or how it sounds, and they kind of get a beat, like you know these people that go buy beats, right? They buy a beat, they put a song around it, right? They say, okay, this beat sounds like this. I'm just going to kind of sing these lyrics over the top,
Right.
and see what works. Which I know when we did the Soulfest 2018 and you did your songwriters workshop, you know, you took the completely opposite approach and that basically just ripped everybody apart. We'll talk. I got Patrick in the studio, right? I think he still has nightmares about that whole experience.
I'm sorry, man. I got to jump in here, bro. I had to leave because so much stuff was going on, and I couldn't stay for the whole thing. But that first, I don't know, 15 minutes, I was like, I walked out of there, and I was like, man, I think I need some therapy, man. This guy just ripped everybody apart, broke everybody down to the common denominator, and then started rebuilding. And I was like, I can't stay for the rebuild portion of this. It's crazy. I've never seen anything like that. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's just it, though, right? Like, music, we have different eras of music, and the sound always changes. But the one thing that doesn't change is the story, right? Like, a story is going to be the same. You can tell it again and again and again. But in the music industry, sounds change drastically over a span of 2 years even. You know, you can sound dated the way you do a vocal run. Right?
This is so true.
Right? So the way you create a song, if you don't do it in the right priority sequence, your priorities are going to be wrong and you can be quote unquote dated, or just the intention behind the song won't be as powerful as it could be. So when you strip it back and you prioritize the right things, then in my opinion, a song can be more timeless and powerful. And that's like, for me, like digging into songwriting, that's what I found. And that's what I'm continuing to kind of dig deeper even into.
Yeah,
it's not easy.
I mean your process, and we'll talk, like we're talking about your process. I'll be very open about the process. Like Patrick said, that whole. So just to give everybody kind of like who's listening and that don't understand what we're talking about because they weren't there to witness this madness. So part of our festival we had Mr. Beatchild, I'll call him Beatchild, not Slacker, but Mr. Beatchild do a songwriters workshop at a studio, and basically we had all these like not unsigned but unknown emerging artists come to this workshop and to learn about songwriting and the whole foundation of songwriting. That was the whole purpose of the workshop, and the approach that Beatchild took was essentially like, regardless of who was in the room, whether you were part of the workshop or not, like we had staff there that was nothing to do with the workshop other than just to accompany the artist. He got everybody in a circle and basically asked them a question and open them up. And there were some very emotional responses, very, very emotional responses. Some people said some stuff that I never knew. My sons were there. They said some stuff I never knew about them. There was stuff I heard about your lovely wife I never knew, and yourself I never knew. And I guess part of that exercise, I'm assuming that's what you're trying to go for, was everyone being vulnerable, being open. Everyone has a story that you can draw from because you're making that connection, right? I'm assuming that's what you were trying to get to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because is there studio monitors that you can turn down? Because I hear echo.
I've turned them down. There you go. Is that better?
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
That's better. So yeah, when you're writing music, you're trying to evoke a emotional response, and at the end of the day, it's communication. Writing a song and playing it for somebody, you're trying to communicate something.
Mm-hmm.
So the more effectively you can communicate it, the better it's going to be received.
Right.
And being honest with music, I think, is a very powerful tool. Because no matter what you say, it's undeniable, right?
Yeah.
You can't call anybody out on something that they've lived and they're expressing.
Mm. And that was the amazing thing about that whole it wasn't an experiment. It was an experience. Was just that, and how you kind of leveled that into the exercise that they went away and they did, with the post-it notes and stuff, and it was an incredible thing to see. But I know you used to talk about the aesthetics of songwriting and the power of songwriting, but I didn't really understand it until I witnessed, the very early stages of how you get there. Then
yeah,
I was like,
and sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. This is your time,
and what we did that day was only, I would say, 10% of the whole process.
That's scary. Only 10% of the whole process.
Yeah, because what that was to just remind everyone that the process is more complex than we might give it credit.
Right.
And the more you know about the process and that particular technique, because that's kind of my own method for songwriting. You can have your own method for songwriting. I just feel like it's been useful for me and co-writers, so that's why I like to share it.
Yeah.
But it is just a small slice of the process.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's a very, very, very powerful. It was a very, very powerful experience for all of us. I think, my idea of what artists should do and how they should go about it really changed that day.
Mm-hmm.
I was enamored with the beats. You know this already, man. Like, it's what it is. Like, I like beats, like yourself, I'm a DJ. But I think that it really made me start to think about, okay, when someone says they're writing a song, what are they writing about? How do they get to that point? And what makes a song decent to between a decent song, a good song, and a great song? And then those timeless songs, right?
Yeah.
So it's not just the melody, it's also, the subject matter that, invokes a particular emotion or authenticity in what they're saying, and it builds a picture or builds a story, right? So I guess that from an educational perspective, that's what I took away from my 10%, and we can kind of look at what people were doing very differently and question what they were doing as well. So thank you, sir.
Yeah, my pleasure. I hope to do it again in a bigger context.
Yeah, funny you should say that. Funny you should say that, Mr. B. We'll have to talk about that at some point. But okay, so you just released your instrumental album, which was you're featured as Artist of the Week over here on iLive Toronto, and obviously we're always huge supporters of you and your music.
Thank you.
Being a Canadian artist and to be honest, completely underappreciated and underrated Canadian artist from the commercial perspective. I know you have a lot of respect in the industry, but doesn't always translate into recognition. So what made you decide for your first release for this year to do that kind of whole nostalgic beat thing, going back to some of your older joints, the instrumental joints you did?
There's a few things that kind of inspired me to put this together and put it out. I guess the first thing is I've always wanted to put together a best of album because I sometimes I come across my old material and I've songs I've forgotten about, and they still hit me the same way, and I'm like, okay, it'd be nice to kind of hear these songs in one collection, and I haven't done that yet with like full songs, but I thought that it would be a perfect time to do it with the beats because every release that I've put out has included instrumentals.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those instrumentals have, really been fan favorites.
Right.
And so I figured if I want to do some sort of best of, I think the first one I'd like to do would be a beats one.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons why I did that. The second reason why I put out Nostalgia Beats is it's more of a warm up, to tell you the truth. Because the Beats is a very specific, it caters to a specific audience. It's not really a huge audience. But a lot of my followers and fan base, they know me for the beats, right? So this is kind of my way of kind of saying, like, thank you for the support. Here's a collection of beats that, from beginning to end, I know you're going to dig. It's kind of that classic slacka sound. And it's like an appetizer, man.
It's almost like you said that with a little bit of venom under your voice, like that classic slacker sound. I can almost see the eyes rolling in your head, like, oh my god, here we go again. We've got to do this again, all right? But okay, yeah, no, I get it, I understand.
Yeah.
I
love making beats.
I do have one complaint about it though.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I have to say this because it's the sound table. I'm supposed to shoot my mouth off on here. I can't be nice to everybody. Like, I'm upset that the gap of separation wasn't on there.
Oh yeah. Hey man, this is. I could come up with a bonus edition.
I'm just saying.
You can do anything, man.
I'm just saying. I wasn't happy because I didn't see the gap of separation on there.
Gap of separation, man. You're talking like beat tape volume 2 or something.
It don't make a difference, bro. Is it not?
There's you know what? I have so many beats that when it came time to compiling this, I didn't put too much thought into it. Honestly, I went through my beats. If it hit me, I'm like, yeah, I put it on there. But it was also a way of kind of showing the evolution and kind of like the sounds, how they span different different eras of my growth as a musician and producer. Because there's beats on there that I did when I was like 19, and there's beats that I did like a few months ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say that there's a couple of beats that haven't been out yet, or were they on your SoundCloud? You just pulled them in, or is it just beats you had lying around? The ones that wasn't featured before.
Yeah, definitely. So it's kind of like there's little pieces of music from everywhere, even slackadelic stuff,
I was about to say that, you put some slackadelic stuff on there as well, and that's what kind of surprised me, to be honest. I was like, this is a classic slacker beat tape, and then you put the slackadelics on there. I'm like, okay, he
it's
went,
still
he
me,
went
right?
There. It's still you, right? I said, he went there. I said, okay, that's good, because there's a particular, I guess, audience, and we've talked about this before, right? Me and yourself. There's a particular audience that like crave for the classic slacker sound, but then there's also an audience that love the slackadelic stuff and some of the more eclectic stuff you do as well. So I'm glad you hit both sides of the fence with this instrumental.
Yeah, definitely. And it's I have to remind myself that I have to make music for me first and foremost. Because the more I make music for me first, then the end product is always more authentic, right? Because it's music. I'm making music from the inside out. As artists, especially in this, to make a living, you have to check yourself sometimes that you're not making music from the outside in, because that's sincerity.
Got you. Got you. All right. So there's another question I wanted to ask. Oh yeah, this is the one I wanted to ask. So you had this idea for this beat instrumental album, this kind of celebration of your music from a beats perspective. When it came to releasing your music, what made you go back with BBE, who's been distributed through, rather than doing it completely independent, as most people are going on right now?
There's a few reasons. I mean, from a logistics business standpoint, they still own some of those masters anyway, so it was like the easiest way to do that. Another one is I've built a nice relationship with BBE over the years, and I think I value relationships and the ones that are mutually kind of beneficial. And I think that there's when you have longevity with good relationships, I think it's important because like that team, building that team is important, and you don't want to be switching up the team all the time. You don't want to be that dog with the bone looking in the pond at the other dog who has the bigger bone and drop it, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, there's always going to be bigger and better. But I think there's a lot of value too in consistency and building a team of trusted individuals. You know, the team at BBE, it's small, it's really good. I can reach out to anyone and get a response like immediately, and I don't take that for granted.
Right.
I've experienced the other side of the table too, where you're dealing with a company that's bigger and it's just you are visible.
Okay. And in terms of dealing with like larger companies, I know that one of your releases of the Slackadelics, the one that you got on that advert for that famous food chain, that shot the hell out of me when you first showed me that. But I mean, I know you did a deal with a larger label. Like, how did that come about, and how did that go for you? Was that a smooth kind of interaction, or was it typical big label stuff? I have liability insurance.
I didn't know that. I think you might be confusing something, but the song from that last album that got that sync placement, that was released on BBE.
It was released on BBE.
Yeah.
Okay. Why do I think it was licensed by somebody else?
There's some remixes that got licensed internationally.
Right.
Yeah. You know, and I got asked that question recently, like, what is an independent artist? Is it someone who doesn't deal with majors at all? Is it somebody who owns their masters? And I think in this day and age, the term indie is very fluid because there's indie labels. You know, what's an indie label? Well, indie label has relationships with major labels and major distributors. So the term indie is definitely taken on many definitions.
Yeah, I have a tendency to agree. I mean, with it, like I said, with the advent of technology and your ability to distribute your own music through things like DistroKid, TuneCore, putting it out on Bandcamp, using SoundCloud, whatever you do, there's various distribution channels. I think from my perspective, the concept of an indie artist is about leverage, right? You leverage what's around you. You have the flexibility to be able to leverage relationships and leverage resources and still stay in relative control of what you're doing, and and have control and ownership of your masters. It is very important.
Yes, but here again, the term indie is very fluid because if you are a Beyonce or a Celine Dion, you have a lot of control.
Yeah.
You are not an indie artist to the world's definition of indie, right?
Right.
So you can have a huge amount of power and leverage as an artist, no matter what side of the fence you sit on. I guess it's not a fence really; it's like a labyrinth.
Okay, so are we saying there's no such thing as an indie artist anymore?
100%.
Yeah. Is that what we're saying? Are you controversially saying that?
Yeah, I'm just saying how it is, man. You know, 10 years ago, there was such thing as an indie artist because you had limited resources, but you still had the ability to make money and release your music through untraditional avenues, you know. But you know, think of like the company, I think it's AWOL, who branded themselves as an independent hybrid music industry services label. You know, they just got bought by Sony, I think.
Yep.
So you can't be static in your headspace in such a dynamic industry. You really have to go with the flow and kind of surf the waves and decide when you want to jump ship. Like it's so fluid. And the thing that I think influences the most is technology.
Absolutely. Technology, I believe, is going to be the primary driver. Is the technology is the industry. It's how you harness technology that gives you the power now.
Yes.
And I always say to artists that the power is now in your hands, more now than ever. You know, there's far less roadblocks. There's access for you to put out music, whether the music's good or bad. A lot of those barriers are down because technology has allowed anybody to be able to make music inside of their bedrooms, record their vocals, good or bad, mix it poorly, and throw it onto a platform. Right, there's no gateway there anymore. Right, you don't have to go to a studio. You don't have to go to a 128-track digital studio. You don't have to be a musician. Like all those barriers have been pulled down because technology does so much for us, and enables us so much. So, of course, the model's changed. But for yourself, how do you feel that? How do you feel that you're leveraging this new, this new frontier from a technology, especially around music distribution? How do you feel that you're trying to leverage that right now at this juncture?
Yeah, I think that being what's the word, fluent or proficient in the trajectory of technology is more important than actually being an expert in one thing or being able to harness one thing because it changes so quickly. But if you know the trajectory, then at least you can keep up and adapt as it changes.
Yeah.
For me, I've been trying to dive into music tech, which is kind of a broad term, but more so app development, but music specific, or ways to reach my audience through software, or just like getting my head in that space more so than the traditional. Okay, I need a video. I need to get a radio promoter. Like a lot of those things are dead.
Yeah.
And the money that you would spend on a video, and the money you would spend on certain types of marketing, you need to kind of reallocate that into like app development and technology.
And that's the
but
interesting.
I mean,
that's an interesting perspective. I was having the same conversation with Tone Mason a couple of weeks ago on the sound table, and the reason why that conversation came up was because we were in Clubhouse in a room. Clubhouse is that new app, right? We was in Clubhouse in a room, and that's what they were talking about. They were talking about, someone created Clubhouse. It wasn't people that look like us, but people like us, populate Clubhouse, and its valuation is going up. Why haven't we found a bunch of coders and built something ourselves? And there was this whole, and it was a music-based room, right? Like, how do we develop a music-based app that's going to be relative and relevant for us so we can leverage it and benefit from it? And we kind of got into the whole conversation about music tech and some of the ideas that, Tone Mason had in terms of what he wanted to do around music tech, because the conversations he's been having in there has kind of sparked that kind of fire in him to do it. My whole thing is, I'm sure if you want to find someone that looks like you, I'm sure someone's done it already. It's just that you have to research it. And when you research it, you find there's actually a number of people that have done what he was trying to do, or his idea, that were black owned. There's a company out of Atlanta that built a distribution platform that allows you to become a distributor. That makes sense? Like it allows you to
I was waiting for that.
Yeah, like it allows you to become your own version of DistroKid.
Wow.
and all they do is they take their fee is 10% of what the artist on your platform makes is their fee.
Right.
So
So you
it's
see,
scalable, right?
yeah, and like you're right. You can have an idea. It just takes a quick Google search, and you'll see that there are people who have done it already, are trying to do it, or who have tried and failed.
Yeah.
It's almost like the tech world is like this huge jungle.
It's a horrible jungle, my friend. Like it's the worst. Like you have I've been inside Clubhouse going into these rooms, and I don't know if you ever tried Clubhouse, but
Oh yeah, I hate it.
yeah, I know. You know what? I hate it, but I've learned some stuff from it. So some things is like whatever, but there's some rooms in there that you go into that people are actually like talking some sensible stuff, and you can actually get some like, decent ideas out of it, and have some decent conversations if you find the right set of people to be talking to, and make some valuable connections. That's definitely a fact. But one of the things that when we started talking about the whole Clubhouse thing, I said the idea was simple, and I said it's an audio app that people talk to each other. There's loads of those out there. Party Time, Party Room was one of the first ones that was on the iTunes and Apple, which is the same thing. Essentially, invite a bunch of your friends to talk, like group chat. It's an extension of group chat.
It's no different than any product or any song release or artist. It's timing, right?
Yeah, it's timing and it's the marketing strategy in which how they rolled this thing out, and that was the brilliant part. Make it exclusive.
Right.
Make it exclusive and make it so it's hard to get onto. If you can't get into somewhere, you're going to die to get in there because you're hearing everybody else is in there. You want to be where everybody else is. And so the whole idea is that when you get onto Clubhouse, you've only got one invite, so there's only one person you can invite. That level of fake exclusivity is what drove up the myth of Clubhouse.
Yep, that's marketing for you.
It's marketing. All it was is it's a simple app with marketing exercise. And did you hear what the latest valuation was?
Oh, I don't even tell me.
Just over $1.2 billion.
Oh my God.
For an app that has no revenue. There's no advertising. There's no.
Well, it's not about the revenue. It's about the potential audience reach, right?
Right. Exactly. And who they're reaching.
Yeah. It's crazy. And you know what? I feel like the products that do make it, when I'm talking about digital products, like, are the ones that on the surface seem like innocent, but have the most potential of audience reach, because those are the ones that are going to keep getting funding, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's speculative, right?
Yeah, and it's capitalism, just in a digital format. So you can't fool yourself to these things, and that's part of it too. That kind of turns me off from Clubhouse is it's a bit too gimmicky for me. Like, I agree, there's some things I've learned. I've made some cool connections on there. But at the end of the day, it's just one of those things where I just can't really get into it with, you look at the majority of the rooms and it's nonsense, man. It's pollution to me.
Yeah, it is. To be honest, it's complete nonsense. It's nothing that I go into on a regular basis. I think when I first joined, I was in there like every day, and I got invited onto a radio panel. I think this is what turned me off. I got invited to a radio panel by a certain person, and I was on the radio panel with representative from CBC Radio. I was a representative from G98, Virgin Radio up in Montreal. We were the only internet radio station that was there, and the whole idea was, artists came into this chat so they can talk about how they get their music onto radio and how radio can support, black music, right? Or music from the people of color. And it was fascinating to hear how artists still kind of sucked into this whole concept of the fact that if you're not being played on an FM radio dial, you don't have relevance.
Right.
You know, and point I was trying to get across is like, this is all changed. Like, the digital channels are outstripping the ones that you sit in your car for 2 hours when you're driving, you listen to.
Yeah.
Those are the things you should be invested in, finding those channels and those platforms that support your music. More people go there, the more people listen. The more people listen, the more traction your music will gain.
You know what it is? It's like when MP3s came around and iTunes came around, and the big labels fought it for so long. Right? They fought that, and then they just couldn't win. And streaming era came.
Yep.
And you had to adapt. You were forced to adapt.
Yep.
And the thing with music being mainly on a digital platform is you can do so much more now, right? Because you can track the individual listener. You can do so much when it comes to like advertising and music.
Absolutely.
Curation and all that, right?
Yeah. But it's
so it's only a matter of time that the FM frequency thing is going to die.
Oh no, it's absolutely. I mean, everyone's planning for it, right? I mean, I think that Norway got rid of FM 3 years ago.
Yes.
Went to a completely digital platform. The UK are getting rid of FM in 2 years' time. They've expanded their HD radio across the country now, so FM's going to go. And at some point, FM will go in the States. Right now, it still makes money, right?
Right.
As long as it still makes money and advertisers still flock to it, because technology in the US across the broad band of its whole, everyone that's there is relatively low, especially in the Midwest. People still listen to radio. Radio's still a big part of their lives, right? So traditional FM. So there's always going to be a market there. As long as there's a market there, it's going to exist. It's going to survive. But the winds of change are coming, and that's what it is, and that's what I was basically trying to point out. And it was just amazing how blind these people are, especially the radio station guys, like completely blinded to the idea.
Because they're comfortable, man.
Yeah. No,
they don't have the same vantage point as the kid who's like doing the marketing, hustling, and who's seeing the results from different things. They're comfortable doing their job, so they're gonna have their opinion, but it's going to be from a limited perspective and from a comfortable perspective at that.
Yep. No, I agree, and it is that level of comfort, which I debated. So I was the Antichrist in that whole conversation. they could have thrown water on me and threw me out. I'm sure they would have done. But it's what it is. I'm the protagonist. I don't care. All right.
Good.
So we got 13 minutes, and so. Fantastic talking to you, my friend. We need to do a proper catch up when this COVID madness gets out.
Yes.
But so let's talk 2021. And what does 2021 look like for the Beatchild? So you've got this first project out of the way that's already gone to the four winds. It's going to do what it does, and BBE is going to be there. I'm sure BBE aren't just looking for that because you need some classic Slacker stuff coming out. Also, classic Beatchild stuff. Stop saying Slacker.
What is classic Beatchild? Like, what is classic? Do you mean early Beatchild?
Crate Love, classic. The classic. Crate Love, classic.
So what makes that a classic compared to Something Forever? Like, what makes that a classic and Something Forever not a classic?
Okay, so this is what I say, right? And this is my personal ear. There's some songs you make that have a quality that breaks through the fourth dimension. When it breaks through the fourth dimension for me, time doesn't matter. It's a classic, right? And you make great music, and obviously people say, the classic Slacker sound is this sound. This is what I like. This is you. Their example of you breaking through their fourth dimension. The ones I mentioned are tracks that broke through the fourth dimension for me. And it's different for everybody. Yes, absolutely. It's my personal opinion.
Yeah. I have a theory on that.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I do. I think when someone makes a discovery, an emotional connection to a piece of music, that it affects them different than anything, like any subsequent releases from that artist. And I think a lot of it is psychological, and I don't think it's a bad thing,
Oh, no,
but
don't
I
think.
think it's something that is significant and relevant. For example, for you, that is my classic breaking through the fourth dimension. You know,
Well,
when I created it.
I got one more to add to that though. I want to
Okay.
throw a little spanner in this work.
Uh
Right?
oh.
So, to me, the classic era of Slacker was that kind of like Dilla-esque hip hop soul, neo soul thing, right? That's how I got introduced to it.
Okay.
However,
Yes.
fourth dimension breakers, Slackadelics 1, Slackadelics 2,
Okay.
all day. I could actually sit down and listen to Slackadelics 2, no issues, and I love every single song on Slackadelics 2.
Right.
Right, so
Because I agree with you when you talk about like that, you know, reaching that level of like, oh my goodness.
yeah,
Because I experience that when I create music. Like there's certain things that I will do. And I'll be like, oh, I've never done that before. That combination of music and rhythm and lyric, and I've never done that. And it feels, you know, I'm feeling something that I've never felt before. And when that feeling lasts, like when I come back to it and I still get that, I'm like, okay, yeah, this was something special.
okay. So let me ask you, of all the songs you've made, yeah, what song is that song? That one you think that's it? If there was a holy grail of what you do, which is a consolidation of every experience you've had from the very early beat tapes to now, what is that song? Yeah, interesting question, right?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think, you know what? Away from Soul Movement 1 definitely hits me in a way that no other song I've created hits me. That's a collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
So part of it is what the artists Mystic and Miranda did as well. But that collaboration and what came of that song definitely hits me in a way that no other song I've done kind of hits me.
Right.
And when I listen back to these tracks, I think knowing that I was young at the time and just kind of experimenting and just doing what felt good to me at the time, and it still holds up today. Like when I hear it, I'm like, that's still on a level that I think is quality. I'm proud of that because I was able to create something that I feel is timeless. You know, I think of the music I made before that when I was, you know, in Sarnia and just dabbling with music. There's a lot of questionable music that I made at that time, but I think Soul Movement 1 was the beginning of me being very confident in my abilities and knowing who I was.
I
as
don't
an
disagree
artist.
because, you know, if you speak to anybody from a certain ilk of music that likes what you do, you know, I like Slackadelics, like Sandy Black, I like all that stuff, right? I'm a bit more different, but if anyone talks about you and all the EPs and releases you've done, Soul Movement 1 is what everyone measures you against.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that I have to like be careful not to that external internal thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I create new music, I have to like not make music because I know that people like Soul Movement 1.
Yes.
Because I don't create music to make music that sounds like the music I've already made.
Correct.
What's the point of that?
Exactly.
You know, and I personally feel that the music I make now might not resonate with people who know my past music only because they haven't caught up to my progress. I think over time, when you go back to stuff, you will understand why I created certain things or did something in a particular way.
Yeah. So you've become a bit of a futurist.
Well, I think I'm always trying to create from like the most authentic internal place because that's all that matters, you know. When you come from an art perspective, right? Like I know there's song structure and there's ways to captivate people, and you know I have to put doses of that in what I create because I'm not just trying to make random noises, 30-second songs. You know, like I could do that, but I'm still trying to create a cohesive sound that could be consumed. It's like a meal, man. I want to create a nice meal that I know I'm going to first enjoy.
Yeah.
And if I enjoy it, then there's for sure other people who might enjoy it.
Absolutely. So we've got about 4 minutes left. It's been I could speak to you for 2 hours. If Patrick Morris wasn't here, I would have kicked him off this show and we would have continued. But I know you got kids and stuff.
Hey man, who says we can't do that?
Patrick's like, yeah, like, you know, he's got his show after us. But so 2021, I'm gonna ask a question.
Yeah.
Can I ask you every single time? Are we going to see SM3 in any shape or form in 2021?
I think the answer is yes. And then not only that, you're gonna see a lot more music than just Soul Movement in 2021.
Yes, I know about some already, which I won't talk about. But
yeah, no point talking about it.
No point talking about that. But SM3 2021. My second question. My second question around that, very quickly, is that Glenn Lewis track going to be on SM3?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
It's going to be released in 4 parts, though, right?
Yeah, why not? I know.
Yeah.
Shh. You're not supposed to tell them this stuff. That's like, hush, man. So we'll talk about that later on. All right. So,
right.
And third question is, and I know this, I want to say this because I was there and I heard it. Are you going to do anything with that Jesse Reyes track that you got sitting around in the back?
Oh, yes. Should I like drop a little... Do I even have it on this computer?
Don't do it. Bro, don't upset anybody, man.
Okay.
Are you going to do anything with the Jesse Reyes?
Yeah, hopefully, her people are down with it. But I'd love to.
Who owns the masters?
I do.
So what are we having this conversation for? I'm just letting everybody know there is a Jesse Reyes and Slacker track which is so good. And how many years ago did you do that?
Let's see, about 6 years now.
6 years ago, before she broke out. There's this track out there. I heard it at the studio, and I remember saying to you, "What the hell? What?" Because that's Jesse Reyes. I forgot I had this. What do you mean you forgot you had this?
Yeah. And I don't know if you've heard of Jay Prince, but him and I have been doing some music together too.
Yes, my friend. I remember you talking about that last time. How's that going? Is it good?
Going good, man.
It's going good.
Yeah, I think everybody's this quarantine has got everybody trying to do something special, so
yeah. Gotcha.
We're trying new things.
Absolutely. And my last part, other than, I want to say this as well. When are we going to get there? When are we going to finish that Omar track? Like, when are you guys actually going to get together and get that finished?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this COVID thing being over, and I miss the UK, man. I need to get back out there, and the moment I'm out there, that's going to be a priority.
Yeah,
get in the studio with Omar.
Because as people don't know, there is the beginnings of a track that was from 4 years ago. 4 years ago? Yeah, nearly 5 years ago actually, coming up. Yeah. Amazing. All right, my friend. Cool. Well, you know what? It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been nice talking to you, man.
Yeah, a different angle. We have to have a personal catch up as well. Like, got to get you up to date with what's going on with me, my health issues, all that kind of stuff. So.
Yes. Let's definitely catch up, bro.
Catch up, man. But please hug the kids and hug the wife for me. Shouts out to Kendra.
Will do.
And it's been an honor. I will send you the link to the recording of this show. So
perfect. Thank you very much for having me on.
No problem, man. Always a pleasure, my friend. Always a pleasure. Thank you, sir.
All right. Peace.
So that was Beatchild Sound Table. A little bit less controversial than I wanted, but it's what it is. That's my guy, and I wrote for him 60 grand. So up next we have Mr. Patrick Morris. He's talking about on Black Habits today. He's talking about black music, and he's got a USB key of music. And I'm looking at some of these songs. I'm like, really, Dennis Ferrier, Really? You want to get blocked? You're gonna get us blocked, bro. That's what's gonna happen. you're gonna get us banned from YouTube with that playlist. So tune in next for Patrick Morris right here on iLive Radio, Black Habits. Peace.
This is Felicia Temple, and you're listening to iLive Radio, changing the way you listen.